In this series, we took the highest grossing film every year since 1980, we put them in brackets, and debated which film was the best to determine once and for all which decade had the best movies.
All right, round two. Now we're going to, I think, like the 1990, or excuse me, 81
Ooh,
Raiders, 91 Terminator 2, 2001 Sorcerer's Stone, and 2011 Deathly Hollows. It's weird that you got the first and last Harry Potter in the same bracket.
so
It's just the way
strange.
it worked,
Yeah.
and the fact that they're both the highest grossing film in that year.
Look how they
So,
evolved in their posters too. It's like everything's so like full of fancy magic in the first like picture. That's like everything's burning and we're angsty. And
it's
I
coming to
haven't even seen that movie, The Deathly Hollows Part 2, and I can already tell that I would be annoyed by this movie.
All right, so in your opinion,
Hmm.
which movie gets first place to you?
Okay. So first of all, this bracket has two movies in it that I give a shit about. Okay? I don't care about Harry Potter at all. I'm not buying Hogwarts Legacy. It's not my fucking generation. I'm sorry. You can call me an elder millennial if you want to. I don't give a fuck about Harry Potter or anything that's associated with Harry Potter. Now, to be an old person, I will digress and tell you what I do care about. And that was pretty much Harrison Ford all throughout the 80s. We just talked about The Empire Strikes or Empire Strikes Back. And fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? That was my shit. So when I looked at this bracket and I thought to myself, which is the best movie? The first thing I thought about was I could not decide if Terminator 2 Judgment Day or Raiders of the Lost Ark was the better movie, okay? Because honestly, as I first looked at it and as I feel kind of like right now, if you put a gun to my head, I think Terminator 2 Judgment Day is a better movie than Raiders of the Lost Ark. And here's why. Terminator 2, aside from Back to the Future, is one of my favorite time travel movies, the way they do it, with the Mobius loop kind of idea that there was never like a first time that they went back in there, and just the overall action, the way that they ratchet up, the whole thing that happened in the first one. I mean, the first Terminator, if you think about it, people really don't even talk about the first Terminator. Sure, it was like Arnold and James Cameron's like one of their first like movies together, and yeah, it has its place. But Terminator 2 is a fucking masterpiece. All right, from beginning to the end. Okay, I have no problems with Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's one of the first movies that I think it's the first movie I ever even laid eyes on, like as a human being. Before I could even read, so I was like 2 years old, maybe or something like that. I knew that said Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I would point that out to my parents and being like the movie that I want to see, and they say it to this day. Like I didn't know how to read, but I understood how the letters worked, and I knew that this movie was one I wanted to see. It was great. It has all sorts of classic stuff with Steven Spielberg shots of like uh, Indiana Jones is one of those rare characters, and they say this all the time, where it's like you have a really good character when you can recognize them by their silhouette.
Yep.
So if you can recognize a character by their silhouette, you know that you have a fucking winner. And Raiders of the Lost Ark is great, and I love it, and I will still watch it. I love the whole like the mythos. I love the story of archaeology professor is like a part-time like adventurer and fights Nazis and shit. It's fucking great. Um, but I just firmly believe that Terminator 2 is just a better movie. I just think it is. Taking all sort of emotion out of it and just being objective. I just think that Terminator 2 is the best one of the two. And if you and I think that I will kind of always feel that way. That doesn't mean anything against Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. I still don't really understand how Indiana Jones knew that if he didn't look at the Ark, his face wouldn't melt off. I don't have those questions in Terminator 2, if that makes sense.
No, I understand, and I've heard that theory that Indiana Jones didn't even need to be a part of the movie because everything would have happened the same regardless with the Germans. But we're not going to get
Oh my
into
god,
that.
that's right.
So, unlike you, I did read all the Harry Potter books. I
Oh
saw the film.
god.
I did. It was at a time when I was reading a ton, and I did. And I will admit, I love the books. I like the movies. I think it should have been a TV series, like each book being a TV series, but that's beside the points. But I actually enjoyed the movies.
Hmm.
But to me, this was also a two-film race for the top spot. I'm not denying that. I'm going to give a little more love to Harry Potter than you, but the top
Hmm.
two was between Raiders and Terminator 2. And then I looked at it, and I'm with you. Terminator 2 is the better film. And I think it took special effects to a whole new level. I think it was
Yeah.
just more entertaining. It's something that I can watch anywhere in the middle, and for the most part, will just watch it to the end. Raiders, can be the same way. There is a little bit dated material in it, but
Hmm.
it's tough. This is an apples and oranges, but to me, Terminator 2 is such a they're both classics. So I hate using the same word, but it was just there's something that edged it out. And to
Yeah.
me, it was yeah. Terminator 2 is better. Is probably the best movie in the series. Raiders, I don't know. Like I said, I keep finding things and I'm like, well, it's the same, but there's just more enjoyment to me out of Terminator 2. I think there was just more there, more action packed and stuff like that. And Raiders is great. It had a lot of great lines. Indiana Jones is one of the best movie characters of all time. But to me, Terminator 2, anytime that this is on TV, I will watch. There's just something about it that drags me in a little bit more than Raiders. I'm not saying, like you, I'm not saying Raiders is bad. I'm just saying Terminator 2 edges it out. Just barely, but it does. It
Yeah.
does. And it was tough, but after sitting down and thinking about this, yes, Terminator 2 is the better movie.
I
Now
mean,
for third and
Terminator
fourth,
2.
oh, go ahead.
Well, just really quick, and then I'll let
Yeah.
you get through. But Terminator 2 took a really cheesy 80s movie that James Cameron they were all a part of, and it elevated it
Yep.
into such a way that when you do see the original Terminator when it's on TV and you're watching like Sarah Connor and Reese and all, you're like, this movie sucks. And then you watch Terminator 2 and you're like, this movie's great.
And then you watch Terminator 3 and you're like, I'd rather be watching Terminator 2.
Yeah, right. So it's just in all the movies that we've talked about and everything, it's so rare for sequels to like completely outshine their original ones. We just talked about Empire Strikes Back, and yes, Empire Strikes Back is great, but I don't really feel like it outshines A New Hope. A New Hope is still considered a legendary film as well,
Yeah, I think
and
it
Empire
adds
Strikes
to
Back
that
goes a
story.
different way.
Yeah.
Exactly, adds to it. It makes it different. It was directed in a different way, and it's great. But Terminator 2 is just fucking, oh, it's so good. So, but anyways, you're saying third and
No,
fourth. How would you rank
so
them?
so to me, being a fan, basically you got the
Hmm.
first film in the series and the last film in the series.
So dark that last film looks
It
like.
is, and I think that's why I have to give Sorcerer's Stone third place. There is something about watching this film and these characters come to life for the first time. There is that
Hmm.
sense, and I know you didn't read the books and you're not a fan, and that's
No.
fine. But all these characters coming to life, it looked so good, and it brought me back to the books. The Deathly Hallows Part Two is number four, just because I think by that time I was like, I'm just glad this is over. It was two parts for the final book, and I get it; they want to put everything in it, but when they do that, it just was dragging a little bit. But to me, the first one, Sorcerer's Stone, I would give the edge to mainly because it's the beginning, and there's just something magical about it. And yes, I'm a little bit older than what at that time period. I was not dressing as Harry Potter. I was a little bit past that, but I did like the book. So, but to see that first film and to read that
Hmm.
book, I was just like, damn, like you just saw it. It was a perfect fit. So to me, I'm putting Sorcerer's Stone at 3 and Deathly Hallows Part 2 at 4. But like I said, it's a complete series. But yeah, the magic of the first one, introducing you to Hogwarts and all that, I think that just gives it the edge because the excitement was more there. Where Deathly Hallows, you're like, oh, it's ending. And that's about it. So what about you? I know you're not a Harry Potter fan, but we got to officially do the votes. What are you doing?
I am a humongous fan of Teen Angst. And if I was at Blockbuster Video and I was choosing between these two movies, I would
Understandable.
choose I would choose the Deathly Hollows Part 2 as number 3. Never seeing it, never watching it, okay? Not knowing a single thing about it because of just the sheer amount of angst and like muted colors and things on fire. I love it when teenagers are going through hard times in movies. It's my favorite thing. So I'm gonna rank Deathly Hollows Unseen as number 3, and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which I actually have seen, but don't remember a goddamn thing in it, as number 4.
Okay. You know what? I don't I mean, I know that's our first disagreement, but I can completely respect that and understand that at the same time.
It's the Blockbuster new release wall review. Just, I haven't seen it, but based on the cover, I like this one more.
So yeah, no, I mean that was an easy one. I think we both agreed, obviously, that this was really a 2-film race. But
Oh,
so
yeah,
on our poll on
absolutely.
Twitter, again, just out of curiosity, for the most part, they agree with you. There's which
Yes.
I can respect that. Terminator 2
Yes.
by far was the
Yep.
favorite. Raiders 2, which to me should be the right choice. Those should be the top 2. And then yeah, definitely Hallows Part 2, probably because it's more fresh in people's mind compared to Sorcerer's Stone. So
I
I'm
just
okay.
don't know.
I'm not upset. If anyone would put Harry Potter over these two,
Oh,
I might have more of an
I'd be fine
issue.
with
But
that.